Okay, so in this video I will show you how to continue. Maybe after you've created the job list with the cards and maybe even the application functionality, so that when the user clicks apply now, that the modal will open and then they can create an application for the job where they type in the name, their experience, all those things, and they submit the application. So after that, you will of course want to maybe develop the pages where the logged in user can see their own jobs, where they can see the applications to their jobs, and where they can create new jobs. So for this, of course, you need the user to be able to log in. So I will show you and to register. So if you remember, we already have a user which we created via YAG. So we registered it, and then we were able to log in with exactly this data, join example, and this password. And so now I will create like a very rudimentary login functionality, which you will have to then more properly style and also expand, because we will also need the register functionality. But this will be now maybe already enough for you to continue if you maybe get stuck with this part. So we are now in the navigation, of course, and we want to add something to the navigation. So what we want is like some kind of login component that we will add here, and this login component should display like a button, and it should display a text maybe so the button, I mean the link, and it should contain a modal that is opened when we click on the link. So what we need to define is a function for the login. So it will be something like this. And of course, always a component returns something, otherwise it doesn't really have any use. So maybe we just return the text, which is login. And now if you want to see it on our website, right now it doesn't work because we don't have the development server running. So if you have VS Code or WebStorm, you can already open the build in the terminal, and then it's easier because then you're already at the correct location, and then you can just write npm run start. And now if you go to localhost 5000, then you should see this. This is the state from our previous tutorial, and here also it's now already the login text. Right now it's styled incorrectly, so we cannot really read it, but it's there, as you see. So maybe the first thing is to properly do it. So we want it to be a React Bootstrap component called nav link, and now we can see it and we can click on it, but nothing happens. Now the other thing that we want to include in this login component is, of course, what I said is a modal. So now if we add this modal, we will get an error because first of all, we have to import it. So we will add the import here to the React Bootstrap. But what's also an error is a React component always can just return one thing, one element basically. So we always have to, if we want to return multiple things, we just have to wrap them into one root element. So you can just use actually this empty element. This wouldn't work in HTML, I think, but in JSX, so in React, it's very common. So yeah, we create this. And now we have the link and the modal, and we just see this. So now what we want to do is maybe if we add the functionality that this modal actually contains something. So far we will maybe just add some header that maybe writes, it's called login. And we of course want to display it at the proper time. So right, like you saw in the previous tutorial where I already showed you how to create the modal, here I will show you, I will do the same thing. So we will create like a shows equal show so that the modal knows when it's supposed to be shown and how it's supposed to be closed. So this is like, again, this use state variable that we want to use and that we want to switch on when the user clicks on the link. So maybe then on the link we will say something like this: on click, handle show, maybe something like that. Okay, so we need to have this variable, to have this function, and to have this function. Okay, so first we'll create the variable. So it will be like this. It will be, again, this show, set show, and then will be again use state, and by default it's false, because by default, of course, the modal is hidden. Then we define the function that is called handle show. So whenever it's called, we just want to have one thing that happens, and that is the show variable should be set to true. And on the other hand, when we want to close the modal, then for this we call the function handle close, and the thing that's supposed to happen then for now is just that show is set to false. Okay, so now we expect already the modal to open and to close whenever we click outside of it. Good. So now inside the modal we of course want to have some inputs so that we actually can log in. So here I will add the maybe a body where we can add some fields, and we need a form because we will type in form elements, right? Form is always to maybe send data to the server. We will use a form group, which is also, I hope you remember still from your form classes, from the HTML classes. And we will use a control. So a control is always like an input field, a button. It's mainly types of input fields. So the first input field, of course, will be an email. So we will type in type email. And maybe we'll create some placeholder. So, and then this should then display already a, do we have in this error? Okay, so let's check. Apparently we have some kind of error. Probably we need to import this. So here I added form. And now, now we already have this email field. Next, we also need another form control because we need the password field. So not the same thing, but now as the type, it of course will be password, and maybe the placeholder password. Okay, so now it looks like this. Good. So next thing is, of course, we want to attach some functionality to this. So first, when the user types in some value here, we are not really storing it anywhere in our JavaScript. We need to store it in a JavaScript variable. So like always, when we need to store some state, we will create first the state hooks. So here we will add one state for the email, set email. It's always the variable and a function, and by default it's just the empty string. And we'll add the storage variable for the password, set password, state, also empty string. Okay, so now we want to reflect always the data in this form control, and it has to be both ways. So on the one hand, whatever the user types in here should be stored in the in this field, in this variable, but also on the other hand, whatever is stored here should be displayed in this field. So we will now first define that the value is always supposed to be equal to the value that is in email. And the same thing here, value is supposed to be the same as the value of password, and the other way around. So what we maybe can do it like this, and what we want to add is that when a user changes this field, so they type something in, then an event will be called. So the event will be basically the change event. And one of the things that are stored in the event is also the value of the new input of the user. So basically, we will, when this event happens, so the user changed the input, we will call the set email function and we will set the value to this. So from this email, we get the target. So the target is this element, this form element. And from this target, we get the value. So whatever is written in the email field, and we will set the email to that field. And also the same thing here. We need an onChange. We take the event and we set the password to the value of the of whatever triggered the event. So what triggered the event in this case would be the password input field. Good. So now we are maybe want to also add that both fields are required so that the user cannot display it, change it. So maybe if you want to check whether this whole set email and the state properly works, you could maybe add something like this, where you just show the email. So we expect that when we type here somewhere the email should appear, and here you see this is the email value. So we are probably storing it in this email state React variable. Okay, so next thing, of course, we want to add a button. So here under this form group, but still inside the form, we'll add a React Bootstrap button. So this we also need to import. And now this button will maybe contain something like login, and maybe we can style it a bit. It should be primary button. Its type should be submit. This is very important. So when this user clicks, then actually the form data will be taken and submitted. Yes. So now we have it looks like this. Okay. So now what should happen when we click on the button? So what we will additionally define here in the form is that when the button is clicked, so the form is submitted, we want to call the function handle submit. Okay, so handle submit will take the data, but not as a string, sorry for that, not as this. So whenever this form will be submitted, so the user clicks on login, this function will be called. Okay, so now we need to define it. Here already it says unresolved because it's not defined yet. So we create this this function handle submit, and what this will first do, this is very important, it needs to take the event that calls it. So in this case, the event will be like the form submission. And we need first to like prevent the default behavior of the browser, because if we don't do this, then the browser will take those input fields and just send it to this URL and just post it to this URL, and this will not properly work. So we need to prevent this behavior and instead do something else. So what we would like to do is to log in. So we want to like log in the user with their email and their password. So where can we get this function from? So I hope you still remember the idea about the auth context that we can import and then here always define. So here we will get just the login method from use auth. Okay, so now we have already this login method, which I provide to you, and you can call it exactly like this. Here we get an error because it says await can only be used in an async function. So login is interacting with the server, so that's why it's asynchronous. Our frontend has to wait for the server to answer, so that's why we use await, but await we can only use if this function is async. So just write async in front of this. So this should then properly log the user in, and after this we of course want to close the model, so we add handle close. Okay, so now let's check if we have everything that's required in here. So we have the form, the input fields, the buttons, and we are properly displaying, including this component in here, the login component. Good. So you also need, of course, always to add the login component that you created here. You have to define where you actually want to display it inside the navigation. So what I do is in the nav and under this link container. Good. So now we have this state. When we click on this, we have those two fields. And now what we would like, of course, to do is to log in as our user. The issue is, like, how will we see if we're actually logged in? There will be no like information. So what I will add, and probably I'm already logged in as another user, is some information about what user we are currently logged in as. So it will be just some text. So let's add a navbar.text. So this is again a React Bootstrap thing. And if we are logged in, so if the user thing variable is defined, so we get the user again from useOf. Here we get it like this, user. If the user thing is defined, then we want to maybe say user is logged in, and maybe also display the user.email. Okay, so now you will see, okay, I'm already logged in with another account that they had created before our tutorial. And for the other case, I will also add if the user is not logged in, so if not user, so this maybe if this variable is not defined, so user looks, the object looks like this, I think, so it has a number and it's an email field. So this is how we access this email field. I think we could also access the ID, exactly, ID. So if for some reason the IM user object in itself is just undefined, so now then this will result in a true case, so then this whole thing will render. So if the user is not logged in, then we will just say user is not logged in. Something like this. Okay, so now of course we are logged in, but if I were to take this URL and open it in like an incognito private tab, then it will say user is not logged in, because in this private tab all the cookies are not available. They are like deleted basically. So for the website it looks like we're not logged in. Okay, so now we can actually check if our login functionality correctly works. So first maybe we will just type in something that is wrong, and then we are right now not handling any errors, so probably just break, but it shouldn't work. Okay, so just nothing happens. And if we close the model, then it doesn't work. Now, if instead we try to log in with this newly created account, so here in the backend it works, right? We can log in with it. And if we try to do this here, then I hope that it will work, that I didn't do any mistake. So we copy both things over, we log in, and it has worked. So now it's written here, user is logged in, john@example.com. So now what basically is also has happened is inside this browser now there's a cookie token, and this cookie token will then be always when we maybe try to create a new job, it will automatically be sent if you properly use the fetch functionality with credentials included, then it will be sent to the backend, and the backend will check, okay, is this actually a proper user? And if it is, so if you're logged in, then it will allow you to create a new job. So this is how you create the login functionality in your React project.